What a story that one is.
Hey, do yo. Trophied up. Yeah. Hey, do yo. Trophied up. Do yo dance when the G's up. Spaced out, got me geeked up. 10 toes on the west, can I beat us? You cannot. Shining every time they meet us. Rack 'em up since 96. Been number one in LA, something slight, that's the gist.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Talkin Galaxy. I'm coming to you on May 6th. Today is a Tuesday at 8 p.m. This is our regularly scheduled podcast. We will have a live podcast. Make sure to tune in. Welcome, everybody just coming in. How you doing, Sean?
I'm doing good. I'm excited to be back on the actual weekly podcast. I know I've took a bit of a few-week break, but I'm really excited. We have a lot to go over today, a lot of different topics to go over, especially players and as well as our disaster on the weekend.
We do. And certainly it was a special type of disaster, as this season has been. Are you guys getting 2023 PTSD yet? Because I am. Let's just jump right into things. First of all, we'll start with a little quote from everyone's favorite, Dejan Jovalic. Talking about the upcoming match against the LA Galaxy, a rematch, well, not a rematch, but a reunion, per se. He said, I won the trophy with them. It's going to be special. I'm not going to lie. A lot of love from Dejan Jovalic to the LA Galaxy. Obviously, this club still holds a very special place in his heart from his time playing here. You miss Dejan? Might be the most obvious question of the night.
How can you not? A great guy on and off the pitch. He loved the community and the community loved him back.
Yeah, I want to make it very clear right now that Dejan Jovalic is an LA Galaxy legend. And if you want to look any further, we don't win that MLS Cup without him. And of course, without the contributions of Ricky Puig, but had the game-winning goal in the Western Conference Final, the one that broke all of the deadlock against the Seattle Sounders, and then had the game-winning goal in MLS Cup. The man's a certified LA Galaxy legend. It takes a special type of player to have the killer instinct that he had, and we're very much missing that right now. Not to knock on Christian Ramirez, because he's definitely his own type of player. But, it's nice to see that Dejan Jovalic still holds a very special place for the LA Galaxy in his heart. And, the whole thing was he wanted designated player money. This wasn't a move on the Galaxy's part because we wanted to do away with Dejan Jovalic. I don't think that was in their intentions. I see this as a money issue, but what would you have done if you had the LA Galaxy? What's the move to keep Dejan Jovalic, or would you have done the same move?
Man, I would have loved to keep him. If the front office couldn't make room for him, then we couldn't make room for him, and we had to ship him off. But if we could have somehow convinced him to stay for a year on less money, and then kind of did what we did with Zlatan, where next year we get rid of one of our DPs and we make Dan a DP, because he is DP worthy. As you mentioned, he scored in the Western Conference Final, as well as the MLS Cup Final. But in the regular season, our biggest game against LAFC at home, he had a brace. And he always scored against them, too. He was a big game player, and that is really missed from the Galaxy right now.
Yeah, he was an LAFC killer for sure. Dejan Jovalic, there was rumors around that maybe he would have stayed on max TAM, if the Galaxy would have offered it. Obviously, making as much as he is, he's not making close to like the minimum amount of designated player money. So he's making a couple million right now. He is... And, Kansas City cost of living so much different than, obviously Los Angeles. And I think it just worked out a lot better for him personally to be able to go over and be the big star in Kansas City. The player they really needed to foster the rebuild. They're in full rebuild mode right now, but Dejan Jovalic, special guy, LA Galaxy legend, will not have a trophy will not have a statue outside of the stadium, but he does have a trophy in his cabinet. And he is a huge reason why we do. So without further ado, let's talk about the elephant in the room, is the fact that the LA Galaxy fall 1-0 to Sporting Kansas City. Sean, lead us off here.
The main talking point of this game is that the LA Galaxy um, kept Kansas City to 0 shots the entire game, but yet still lost 1-0 thanks to an own goal from Maya Yoshida, which is the first time in MLS history.
Yeah. As you talked about, this is the very first time. Okay, we got two stats here. This is the first time in LA Galaxy history that we have kept an opponent without a shot in a match. That's a good stat. The bad part is this is the first time in LA Galaxy history, and I believe MLS history, that a team has won a game without having a shot on target or any shot in general, which is not a good stat. I think we're talking about it on the live podcast. The stats weren't up to date on Google. What I was looking at, it said they had 6 shots. According to the official MLS stats, they had 0 shots, 0 on target, and it ends 1-0. Just a disaster. And you know what? Let's rub some salt in the wound here. I got this great picture for you all here. Let's dive into this game a little bit. I thought this was the Galaxy's best game of the season. I think this game and the Orlando City SC game, I can look at and be like, we deserved better. We deserved better than the result that we got on the field. Obviously, different circumstances in Orlando because there was a controversial VAR call that ended up changing the course of that game. But this one was all Galaxy inflicted. It was all LA Galaxy inflicted. And by the way, you can't solve this rationally to me. You can't. The Galaxy are tied for the worst record, the worst start in Major League Soccer history. You can't make that. Doesn't make sense. I get it. Ricky Puig is gone. But this roster, regardless, is so talented. In the past 2 games, we've been hyping up the fact that this is it. We're full strength again. Besides, Ricky Puig is going to be out. It's a good roster. It's a good roster. But do you agree? What did you see from this match? I thought it was the best performance of the season. I thought Marco Royce was creating a lot of chances going forward. Joseph Paintsil had a big one that he ended up missing. There was a lot of chances. The expected goals was almost 2. We should have came out with a win from this match, and we end with nothing. How can you rationalize this?
Yeah, if you were watching the live pod, you would have saw my thoughts as well. I agree. Marco Royce was really lively, really active, which is good to see considering there was a couple games this season where, especially in the beginning, where he wasn't doing too much for us. But he came out looking really strong. He had some great plays, great link-ups. The Galaxy had a chance. I feel Albert's chance was around the end of the first half. The ball slid into the middle of the box, and Nelson had a shot. If he shot it far post, that probably goes in, but you can't expect your left back to have the natural instinct of finishing as a striker. But we deserved the 3 points fully. It's not like we were poor most of the game. Kansas City didn't create too much. We had, really outside of their own goal, Kansas City's best chance was a free kick where Garces got a yellow and then it led to nothing. But I never thought during that game Kansas City looked dangerous where we were going to give up 2 to 3 goals. I thought for sure, I was hyping it up all night long on the podcast or the watch along. I thought we were going to come back. I thought we were going to get 3 goals, and then it turned to 2 goals, and then it turned to 1 goal, and then full time happened where we had none. There was positives all around. There was also some big issues with our designated players, which we will be going over later in the podcast.
Yeah. We do have some breaking news we will go over later regarding both of the designated players. We got injury updates for you. But going back to what you were talking about, yeah, if John Nelson creates your biggest chance of the night, and we had plenty of chances, but you can't be reliant on John Nelson to be the one to put the ball in the back of the net. You look at that goal he scored against Colorado, and it was I'm not even sure he was confident in himself on that shot. He was just like, I did it. I don't know how. The ball found the back of the net. I'll take it. I mean, I like John Nelson. I like what he does going forward. I thought he was good in this match. Honestly, I find it very hard to knock the Galaxy. People can talk about Maya Yoshida. it's just a freak. It's like a freak mistake. It's not his. It's not. I mean, obviously, it's his fault, but like that. When does that play happen? Almost never. And by the way, if he doesn't get to that ball, the Galaxy have cover there. The Galaxy have covered. There was no Kansas City player waiting right behind Maya Yoshida to bury that ball in the back of the net. If Yoshida doesn't get to that at all, it's fine. It would have been cleared. It would have been dealt with. Instead, he doesn't know that, obviously. As a defender, you're just going to clear it out. The connection and the contact, he just got it all wrong. And that's, I mean, I like that John McCarthy was very quick to pick him up after it and basically, it's okay. It happens. Like, but I don't think you can pick out a better play to describe how this season's going than that. What can you rationalize how this Galaxy start's been going? It doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense. This team isn't bad. This team's bad, right? Because we're last in the league and it's not particularly close. But obviously tied with Montreal. But outside of that, the next closest team in the Western Conference has double-digit points. We have 3. It's once again, very early on in the season, but the points add up, and the Galaxy have already dug themselves quite a bit of a hole. Probably the biggest deficit I've seen to start a season out of any MLS club. And obviously the stats reflect that. This is one of the worst starts in MLS history. There were chances, though. There were chances, and honestly, this might be the best defensive game I could recall from the Galaxy in recent times. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. We didn't we limited Kansas City to little to nothing. They weren't a threat. They didn't ever look like they were gonna be a threat. I felt like Garces and Yoshida had Dayan on locks a bit.
Yeah.
Dayan wasn't really, he was the main talk point before the game, but he didn't create much. I mean, he did have a couple of passing plays in the midfield, but again, I wasn't really worried where he was going to pick up the ball and score because I was confident in Garces and Yoshida and the rest of the back line. Then we saw even when Aure came in, he showed he also had them on locks. So
Yeah.
it's just a really disappointing game. Another one as well, we can look at McCarthy where it's just unlucky that it rolled into his net. It's going to go against him, but there's nothing he really could have done there, and that's just the
Right.
moral of the story. There's just nothing we could have done better in
Yeah.
the back line.
And that's your captain too. Like, Maya Yoshida after the game talked about how just terrible he felt. It happens. It's a part of the game where sometimes you're just gonna have a 1 in 1,000 play that happens, and it's just the way the season's been going that it would go against us. But the heads didn't drop after this goal. As you talked about earlier, Sean, I expected the Galaxy to come back. I very much expected the Galaxy at least to grab a goal in this game, to get a point from Kansas City, because all signs would point towards that. Every single way that game was going, you would have said, yes, the Galaxy, I'm confident that we're going to come out of this with the result, and it never happened. It never happened. I'll give Kansas City credit where it's due. How many times on that live podcast were we talking about the Galaxy getting really close to Kansas City, and they'll just have one brilliant piece of last-ditch defending? It happened pretty much every time we got into their box. We would get into their box, we would create a dangerous play, we'd send the ball towards the middle. There would be a man right there waiting to bury that ball in the back of the net. Then boom, right before Kansas City will just have a brilliant piece of last-ditch defending. And it's just like, it is what it is. Sometimes you just got to take these losses to the head. You just got to take it to the head and be like, okay, there's not much more the Galaxy could have done in this match. You held your opponent to 0 shots. What more can you do? What more can you do? I don't know. That's my whole thing. I thought one of the interesting things to see was Miki Amane get involved, very involved in the attack, and almost play like a midfielder. I know you talked about that on the live podcast. You want to go over Miki Amane and the fullback's role in this game?
Yeah, Mane was just everywhere, man. He was in that midfield trying to make link-up plays with Marco Reus and Diego Fagundes, which I want to go on that a bit later as well. Starting 11. But then you would also see Yamane in the right wing spot. You would see him as like maybe as a false nine, trying just to get anything. We saw him on the left wing spot a couple times. He was just everywhere, just trying to force something. And to his credit, in my opinion, it was working pretty nicely. Again, we got the chances, we just weren't clinical enough. As well, to
Yeah,
continue the point of Kansas City's defense, Pulskamp had a good game as well. Goals on target faced 0.51 and goals prevented was 0.51 from him. So yeah, it was just an unlucky performance all around.
yeah. Starting lineup here was John McCarthy in goal, John Nelson at left back, Amiro Garces and Yoshida at center back, Miki Amane right back, Edwin Cerrillo. And the interesting thing here was that we are talking about before the game was two attacking midfielders. You had Diego Fagundes and Marco Reus at attacking midfielder. It ended up playing like Diego Fagundes taking the responsibility of a center mid. And then obviously Joseph Paintsil and Gabriel Pec and Christian Ramirez up top. I thought it was very interesting to see a double attacking midfielder formation. I was a bit worried about that. We talked about it during the live podcast. I was a bit worried about that before the game. It looked fine. It looked fine. It looked fine. I thought Diego Fagundes picked up a lot of the defensive slack. That was our big worry, right? Our big worry was that Edwin Cerrillo is going to be on an island in the midfield. That we have two guys who are way too attacking minded. Marco Reus, it's fine at attacking midfielder, but pairing him with Diego Fagundes left us very worried. And he picked up, I'll give him credit. Diego Fagundes picked up a lot of defensive slack. He did a lot of the pressing in the midfield, and relieved Edwin Cerrillo of a lot of the defensive, duties that they both combined and did together. It was pretty much midfield by committee, exactly what you'd want to see from the Galaxy. We got a question in the chat. Do you guys think what's happening with the Galaxy shows flawed process for the returning champions not to have a chance to repeat? Who's to blame? Coaches, front office, the league, the Puig injury. I feel like it's everything. I feel like it's a bit of everything. Yeah, what do you think, Sean?
I think the main one to blame here is the league for not wanting there to be dynasties. But then I also want to blame a bit of the front office as well, which again we will talk about a bit later on.
Yeah, we will be talking about that. But yeah, I thought honestly this is the closest to the MLS Cup starting lineup you're gonna get from the Galaxy until Ricky Puig returns. It honestly looked good. It looked good. I think if the Galaxy roll out the same team going forward, barring some injuries that we're going to talk about, I think we'll be fine. I think we'll be fine. I think we'll be fine in terms of things will pick up. You can't tell me if we put in more performances like this that we're not going to start getting results. And people hate to hear it. I hate to hear it, but you almost got to trust the process in the sense that results will happen. Results will happen. There's no way this team's ending on 0 wins. Knock on wood, because that, who knows with how cursed we are right now. But yeah, it was really interesting to watch this match. I've just never seen anything like it. Maybe I think the only issue I have is I think the Galaxy have dug themselves too deep of a hole. I think we've dug ourselves too deep of a hole to recover. You look at the amount of points per game we would have to average to make a play-in spot. You're looking at almost 2.0 right now, which is better than what last year's team did over the course of the season. I don't see that happening. But yeah. What did you think of the double attacking midfielder experiment by Greg Vanney? Would you keep that going forward?
Oh yeah, I would keep it going forward. I was really skeptical at first, and I was really worried that it wasn't going to work out whatsoever, and I thought Cerrillo was going to get absolutely ran over. But Fagundes held it down as a center mid type. He had some great passing plays with Royce, and I would love to see this combination going forward.
Yeah. I think it's very possible that you see, this is our 11th different lineup in 11 games. So the Galaxy have had to experiment. We've had to rotate a lot due to injuries mostly. this is it. This is it going forward. This is what the Galaxy should be looking like. The results will come. We just gotta wait. We just gotta wait. And I do want to take this moment to say, please, if you're thinking about it, just do it. Buy those tickets to the LAFC match. I have a feeling. I have a feeling that that game is going to be a special game for the Galaxy. Um, I I feel like the win's going to happen very shortly here. I feel it. I feel it. I think maybe one of these two road matches. Now, I think I picked a win at Kansas City. I think one of these two road matches we end up getting our win in because and that might be crazy. I don't think I don't know. We'll go over a Red Bulls preview. I'm still making my mind up on that. But yeah. So any final words on this match?
Just disappointment. That's all you can say.
Yeah, just a freak match. There's just not much you can do about it. Dejan Joveljic, I'm sure is going to come out of it. I thought he was going to do more. I think everyone penned in a Dejan Joveljic goal for this game, and it never happened. I mean, not to his fault. Kansas City didn't have any chances going forward because we played good defense. I don't know. I just sit here and we try to make sense of it every podcast. This is one of the few games I just can't make sense out of. I just can't. I just can't. Ever since that own goal happened on the podcast, I was just like, on the live podcast, when that own goal happened, I was just like, really? I was like, what more can the Galaxy do at this point? Like, what more can we do to get a win? It's just what we can't catch a break right now. We can't catch a break. You could look at it from a tactical analysis, and everything would point to the fact that the Galaxy did good in this game, right? Everything would point to the fact that we deserved a better result than we got. It's not how the game works sometimes. And it's just one of those you got to accept and move on, probably wipe it out of everyone's minds. We need some Ted Lasso ritual. We need some Ted Lasso ritual where everyone puts an item in a fire and you just burn it. We got to get all the bad energy out of the locker room right now because it has to be a curse. At this point. So I think we'll talk about the injuries. But not now. Stats. We already talked about this. The Galaxy are the first team to lose a game despite conceding 0 shots. I just wanted to touch on that real quick. It's just, man. I mean, I've seen more media on the Galaxy now than I've seen in a very, very long time. But whatever, man. We'll move on from that. We'll take questions from the chat real quick. We'll take questions from the chat early on here before we go to our breaking news. We got some breaking news for you guys that I think everyone will enjoy. Let's see. So yeah, send questions in the chat. I got a question for you, Sean. Look into your Magic 8 Ball. What game are the Galaxy getting their first win?
El Trafico.
Okay.
100% is going to be El Trafico.
The only thing that worries me with that too is the fact that I feel like everyone feels that the Galaxy are going to win this match against LAFC, that it so totally can just not happen. I feel like, are we the first team to get back-to-back simulation cards? Maybe. I didn't appreciate the referee mocking Joseph Paintsil. You know what? Let's talk about a different piece of news real quick. Is the fact that it's officially confirmed. MLS confirmed the match. The Galaxy will not have a chance at Club World Cup. That final spot will officially be between Chivas USA and Club America. After Inter Miami, Seattle Sounders have already gotten their spots. The final spot might go to the team that we want it to go to last. MLS announced it. It's officially confirmed. The appeal by the Liga MX club was denied, so that will be a match taking place on May 31st. Absolute robbery. What's your thought process on this, Sean?
The biggest thing last season that LAFC won was the US Open Cup. The biggest thing the Galaxy won last season was MLS Cup. Only one of those things puts a star above the crest, and that is MLS Cup. Plus, LAFC won a Mickey Mouse Open Cup because not every MLS club participated in it. This is a proper robbery. I will never forgive FIFA for taking this away from us. Even if we did go into the World Cup and just got absolutely demolished by every team, we still get like a $10 million prize, which you know how nice that would have been for the club.
Yeah.
But now we don't get that.
The rationale that I don't like behind this that I've seen going around on social media is the Galaxy are doing bad right now, so they don't deserve it. What? That has no correlation. That has no correlation with the fact that they should have got the spot. We're not advocating for the fact that the Galaxy would have won. We're not advocating for the fact that the LA Galaxy would have won, but we are saying that you want to see competitive matches against big clubs. The Galaxy would have been paired in the same group with Chelsea. You know, I know you're an Arsenal fan, but you know, you got to admit a Galaxy versus Chelsea match would have been very interesting to watch. And really, I feel like more than that match, I feel like the Miami one was the biggest robbery. I feel like the Miami one was the biggest robbery of what we've seen so far. I don't like that Inter Miami got that spot. This one I could rationalize a bit better than Inter Miami getting a spot. But the fact that this is the first year that the defending champions of the host nation will not be in it doesn't sit right with me. And of course, it has to be the Galaxy, right? But Infantino, you know, FIFA president, loves Messi. He loves Lionel Messi. He loves Inter Miami. Anything he can do for more money. The second point being, that's $10 million right now. That's $10 million that the Galaxy just lost out on. And the next time you see a Club World Cup in the United States will not be anytime soon, in my opinion. So, and this is the second time we've been robbed of a Club World Cup spot. I was not alive for the first time, but in the year 2000, they canceled the Club World Cup, and the Galaxy never got the reparations for that. This was a nice chance by FIFA to make up for it, and they never did. Instead, they robbed us twice. So it's nice to see who's in FIFA's pockets, and it's so corrupt. It's so corrupt, but it's disappointing. It's disappointing. That match is going to be on May 31st. Will be at BMO. So they get a home match against Club America. By the way, I don't understand how that works. Like, why do they get the home match? Like, Club America should. Club America, you know, won Liga MX 3 times. They very much deserve to host that match, and they won't be. I think FIFA just wants to see Olivier Giroud and LAFC in it, if I had to guess, you know. But we'll go into questions here. What do you think the odds are we win the next game without going into a match preview?
Not likely.
Yeah,
just straight up not likely.
I agree. I don't think it's very likely we end up winning the next match. I'll put it at 25% chance. I think there's something there, but I don't imagine it. And then the next question we got here, we'll start with you, Sean. If you had to drop one offensive player from the team and one defensive player, who would it be?
It would be Nascimento.
Really?
And then the defensive player would be Zonka.
Oh, must be regular starters. Interesting.
Oh, must be regular starters. Oh, okay. That's
a tough one.
I can say Fagundes because he's been regularly starting this season.
Yeah. Okay,
that works. And then I guess I would have to say, I would say Nelson. This isn't Nelson hate. Nelson has been really good, but I just think Aude is better.
I agree with the Nelson pick. Because I think Aude, Like if you're looking at a depth chart here, you take Yoshida out of the equation, you have Zonka starting. You take Garces out of the equation, you have Zonka starting. I don't want to see Zonka ball. I know there's some people who are very high on Harbor Miller, but you take Miki Amane, the best right back in Major League Soccer, out of the equation. It doesn't look too good for the Galaxy. So I think Nelson, you're right. I'm gonna go with Marco Royce. Another interesting tidbit, piece of news is the fact that the Galaxy are, even though Royce has been playing good, apparently he's about one injury from being out the door. The Galaxy, after Marco Royce's last injury, were looking to shut him down. They were looking to shut him down for the season, whether that be a contract buyout, which you have two now. You have two contract buyouts over the course of the season, whether that be a contract buyout or whether Marco Royce would explore the idea of retiring at his age is very possible. Marco Royce was almost out the window for the Galaxy after his last injury. He's a very injury-prone player. When you think of injury-prone, it's him. It's Marco Royce that you think of. So he very much could be on his way out of the LA Galaxy, and it looks like they have a way of getting rid of him, and they're keen on pulling the trigger if they need to. I thought he's been playing good recently, though, so I'm not too jumpy to get rid of Marco Royce right now. But if I had to drop one, I think it'd be Marco Royce because of his age and his injury history. He's just proven to be unreliable, and I think he will eventually be. I don't imagine a universe where he's on the 2026 roster. I will say that. And then what's the chance we end the Nascimento loan this summer and go for a U22 player? Is that even possible?
I think there's a higher chance that we see a Marco Royce buyout in the summer than we see Nascimento leave. I think the Galaxy are just going to take the loss on this one. And if Nascimento isn't performing, I think we do keep him until the end of the season. But if he is performing, then obviously you're going to keep him till the end of the season. So I do think we will see him there, although I would prefer having two strikers. We saw it worked last season. Yeah, I don't think it's likely that we see Nascimento leave before the end of the year.
No, I agree. I think the Galaxy are going to have to let this contract rot and deal with it next year. Unless Nascimento makes a crazy breakthrough. I don't know what the clause of that contract looks like. Maybe there's a certain amount of... what could be an interesting theory, Sean, that I haven't heard yet? Maybe the Galaxy automatically trigger Nascimento's extension if he plays X amount of minutes. That could very well be possible. And if you think about that, it makes a lot of sense why he's getting 5 to 10 minutes right now, is the fact that they don't view him as a key player. They don't view him as a difference maker in the first place. They want to avoid at all costs extending him. I don't know if that's true, but that makes a lot of sense in my head. And we probably won't know until the end of the season, but he's not coming. He's not coming back. I don't see a universe where he does, but I also don't think he's leaving in the summer. I think they're just going to have to swallow that dead contract. Luckily, it's a loan. Because you remember when we were going to loan in Amiro Garces last year, and that ended up being a 5-year deal. Luckily, that contract looks fine. But you know what contract doesn't look fine? If you would have gave Nascimento a 4 or 5-year deal. I know we were talking earlier about it, Sean. Nascimento never had that goal-scoring pedigree. He never had that. You look at Dejan Jovalic this season before he joined the LA Galaxy. He had 17 goals. He had a proven goal-scoring pedigree. He had one of the best seasons of his career. Granted, it was in a lesser league than Major League Soccer, but he had that pedigree. Nascimento never had that. Honestly, I don't understand the rationale of Will Kuntz in the front office in signing Nascimento. Hindsight's 2020. I get it. He's a Botafogo player who they thought that, hey, maybe we take a swing on this guy, and he ends up becoming pretty good. It never worked out. It hasn't worked out that way, and I don't see it ending very good with the LA Galaxy and Nascimento. I think that deal is going to expire. But what do you think? Do you think the Galaxy head next year in the direction of another U22 striker? Not to look too far into the future, but Do you think that's where we look next year, or maybe head in a different direction?
No, I think we'll be looking at a U22 winger, especially since they're going to look at the issues this year and they do not want the same issues. And I think we will see Nascimento leave, and then we will bring in a younger guy who you would have just as a rotational piece on the wing, which is not a bad idea whatsoever, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I agree with Joe 13 Cool in the chat. Nascimento was a gamble from the very start. I think we talked about that. Nascimento, early on when we first started the podcast, I was talking about the fact that this guy's highest goal scoring season was like what, 2 goals? That's it.
Yeah, something like
That's
that.
it compared to Dejan Joveljic, who had 17. I think Nascimento will score at some point this season, but I don't. It's not happening. I don't think he's going to end up becoming a key player for the LA Galaxy. I think his time is up. But yeah, how would you assess Will Kuntz's transfer window? How would you assess it, his last transfer window, now that it's over?
I can't lie, this is a pretty bad window. Just no matter how you look at it, you lost key figures, which isn't his fault. I would say it's not his fault that we lost key figures, but the players you brought in to replace them aren't good enough, nor aren't at the same level as they were, and so we've had a significant drop off because of it.
Yeah, I think it's very true. I've seen some transfer window grades at the Galaxy at an F before that window closed. It's very true. It's an F window. I love Will Kuntz, but I think he got this one completely wrong. We'll talk about, I think this is a good transition into the Mark Delgado news, obviously, that if you're following Galaxy Buzz, this through Corner of the Galaxy, and Kevin Baxter reported on this, is the fact that the LA Galaxy could have kept Mark Delgado. The Galaxy had the option to keep Mark Delgado. They had 2 choices: trade Diego Fagundes or trade Mark Delgado, and they chose, obviously, Mark Delgado. I feel like this is just, hindsight's 2020. The rationale behind this, apparently, was the fact that they viewed Diego Fagundes as a more versatile player, and thus he deserved to, therefore he deserved to stay on the team, and Mark Delgado did not. What do you think of this?
This is the biggest mistake Will Kuntz made this window. 100%. Quantity does not and will not ever equal quality. Mark Delgado was a starter, and not just like a rotational starter type of player. He was your starting midfielder. He won you an MLS Cup, and it wasn't like he just had a good run of games. He was consistent. He was constantly all over that pitch. Diego Fagundes is not gonna bring the same, and he isn't bringing the same presence as Mark Delgado. In my opinion, two different types of players, but I see Diego Fagundes in the same light as the guy of Sebastian Lletget. 2 players who can both play multiple different positions, but just isn't that great of a player.
The issue I have with this is the fact that this decision was made with Ricky Puig's ACL tear in mind. The issue I have with the Galaxy front office is you had since November 31st to draw up on a whiteboard what this team was going to look like without Ricky Puig. You had months to figure out what you were going to do to fill that hole. A large part of that, and a large part of the Galaxy's failure this year, is that their investment, Lucas Sanabria, has not came around as quickly as we thought he would. Lucas Sanabria was brought over for $5.5 million from Nacional. He's a very highly rated player, and he's never looked close to that transfer fee. That being said, regardless, even in hindsight, even without hindsight, you're keeping Mark Delgado. And you could look at, I know Diego Fagundes was an overqualified backup. I understand Diego Fagundes was overqualified backup. You already lost Brugman. And by the way, I think people overrate Brugman a little bit. I think that MLS Cup performance made people overrate Brugman a little bit. I love what he did the first 2 seasons he was with the club. I thought he was class. Last season, the first season, because the second season he was injured. He's very injury prone. He was very injury prone. I think it was okay to part ways with Gaston Brugman. Ricky tears his ACL. You need some form of consistency in the midfield, and instead, the Galaxy took flyers. And look at it. I know you love him, but Elijah Winder hasn't come out to be the guy that he was supposed to be. Elijah Winder could have very much took like a young Mark Delgado role and made his breakthrough in Major League Soccer. But that was a big swing. USL to MLS is historically a massive jump. The Galaxy took two big swings here. One, Lucas Sanabria, which looked like a sure thing at the time, and I still think he'll come out okay. Two, Winder. And Winder looked like a project, and he looks like a project. I don't know if Winder will ever come out good. He is playing for Ventura County now. Well, hardly even playing for Ventura County, but that's around the level that the Galaxy see him at right now. But if you need consistency in the midfield, you keep Mark Delgado. And look, you keep Mark Delgado and get a U22 winger. You did okay with two strikers last year. Christian Ramirez and Miguel Berry would have been fine. I know I advocated for a better backup striker at the time, but if you told me that it meant losing Mark Delgado, I would have told you just trade Diego Fagundes. My whole thing was I didn't know where Fagundes marked. I don't know what Fagundes market looks like. I don't think Diego's on this team next year. I don't think Diego or Royce are on this team next year, and you're looking at $3.1 million you open up just by offloading those two guys. What else do you think on this?
It's also a huge loss because of Delgado and Surreal worked really well together. And if you were adamant on bringing in Sanabria, and what better player to have him be next to him than Mark Delgado?
Yeah.
Delgado helped mold Surreal, and he could have easily helped mold Sanabria. That, at least that's just how I see it. It will be a big mistake for the Galaxy, especially now. And just hopefully Sanabria next season can ball out and be the type of player that Delgado was.
Yeah. We give Will Kuntz a lot of credit for constructing a 2024 championship winning roster. He did the same thing with LAFC in 2022, but he's had his misses. And I think it's fair to say that. I think this is one of them. I also think that, when he was with LAFC, letting go Chicho Arango was probably the biggest mistake that franchise has made. Instead of giving him a designated player spot. And you kind of see the fact that Will Kuntz might not value strikers as much. You let Dan Jovalic go. I don't know. I don't know the perspective. I'm not inside the organization to say. But personally, if you had the option, you could have very easily shut down Ricky for the season, promoted Dejan Jovalic to designated player, and all would have been fine. And then next season, you could restart. If, like you expected to offload Gabriel Pec, you could have offloaded Gabriel Pec to Europe and finally, complete his dream here. It doesn't look like Pec's going to Europe. Spoiler, I don't think Pec's going to Europe in the winter because I don't think he's played enough to raise his transfer market value. I think he's just decreased it. I think he's decreased his value. And yeah, I don't know. I think this is a very bad move on the Galaxy's part. But let's see. Mark Delgado and Edwin benefited from Ricky's play. Marky was a stamina guy and he was everywhere else, but he was never a focal point of the offense. That's true. I mean, I don't think Mark Delgado was like a conductor of the offense. That was Ricky Puig's role. I think what you said was also true, Sean, was the fact that Lucas Sanabria would have benefited so much of having Mark Delgado in that midfield. Could you imagine if we would have had a midfield of Edwin Cerrillo, Lucas Sanabria, and Mark Delgado? That looks a lot better. That looks a lot better than what we have now. Or even, potentially if Sanabria needs more time, Edwin Cerrillo, Mark Delgado, and then Marco Royce. But, they decided to keep Diego Fagundes, and I would have personally just went the route of U22 winger. But, yeah. Any last words on this?
Yeah, as well as you just mentioned, a midfield three of Royce, Surreal, and Delgado. I know that is a midfield that majority of us wanted to see an MLS Cup final when Ricky was injured and people trying to figure out and piece together what midfield we could have. Royce, Delgado, and Surreal was what people were advocating for. So you would have had what people wanted to see in the MLS Cup final as your starting midfield for this season. And you lost out on that, which is a huge loss. 100%. So now we just got to continue to ride out with what we have. Hopefully, just it works out in the long run. It's not working now, but again, all we could have is hope and faith with this.
Yeah. I think if that move ends up working out with, I'm not giving up. I'm not giving up on him. I'm not giving up on Lucas Sanabria. I think he might turn out to be a good player and have a successful stint with the LA Galaxy, but it just might not be as quickly as we wanted it to happen. And I think that injury probably set him back a little bit. He's still trying to find his footing with the LA Galaxy, but I think it's going to take a little bit of time. That being said, let's go into some breaking news here. We got some breaking news on two fronts for the LA Galaxy. First of all, Joseph Paintsil. Joseph Paintsil, I have word. Breaking news via Talkin LA Galaxy is that Joseph Paintsil's injury is minor, which is a huge relief. A huge relief for the LA Galaxy. But Joseph Paintsil's injury is minor per sources, and he'll be fine. I'm not sure if he ends up playing the Red Bulls match. I will follow up. I'll follow up with all of you if I get any more information on that. I think tomorrow we'll end up hearing more on this as the Galaxy do their press conference. But it's a small injury. It's not a big injury. He's gonna end up being fine. So thoughts on this, Sean?
At the time, we thought it could have been a lot worse. You mentioned on the live watch along that it could be a lot worse, as we've seen Joseph Paintsil does have a bit of an injury record, unfortunately. Great to hear that it is only minor. Hopefully it is, and it isn't something major. Personally, I don't think we see him again, or at least start against the Red Bulls. I do think we'll see him come off the bench, but just speedy recovery to JP.
Yeah, it's very relieving to see that he's going to end up being okay. This isn't something I'm able to report on LA Galaxy Buzz due to the sources not being able to be revealed, and I'm not trying to, speculate on any fronts. And I'm not sure if the source would, appreciate if that was posted on Instagram. But I could tell you here is that if you're watching the Talking Galaxy podcast, we got you. Exclusive news is that Joseph Paintsil will be fine. It's a small injury. It's nothing major. He's not going to miss an extended period of time. I would suspect the Galaxy, keep him out for the Red Bulls match, play him for maybe 30 minutes against the Union, and then start him against LAFC, I think is the route that you want to go down if you're the LA Galaxy. So, yeah, any last things on Paintsil?
No, that's pretty much just about it.
But, yeah, I think this team's so much better with him on the field, honestly. I think the Galaxy look exponentially better when you're able to have your designated players on the field, and the longer that they're out, the longer you're going to be unsuccessful for. So do we think Paintsil's a liability? Absolutely not. I think Joseph Paintsil's a game changer. I think Joseph Paintsil has been better than Gabriel Pec for, large stretches of the season. And by the way, something interesting to talk about last match, Sean, Pec and Paintsil changed wings for the first time since last year. What'd you make of that?
I was advocating for that in the start of the first half, and thankfully we saw it. I thought it worked out tremendously, especially for Paintsil here. We see he does cut in and try to shoot a few times, but we saw the main source of the Galaxy's attack be just crossing it into the box, and have Paintsil on the right crossing it in on the stronger foot is significantly better than him crossing it in on his weak foot, and it nearly paid off multiple times.
Right after they changed wings, the Galaxy created one of their best chances of the night through Joseph Paintsil. I'll tell you right now, that man is an absolute saint for letting Gabriel Pec change positions after his injury last year, because Paintsil would have had a lot more success last year. I love Gabriel Pec, and I think, obviously with the season he had, he deserved all the success, but I feel like Paintsil would have done similar numbers if he would have been able to play his natural position. And at right wing, he's a natural right wing player. It gets the best out of his strong foot. Same with Gabriel Pec. His natural position is left wing, but he was very uncomfortable there last year for the start of the season because he didn't have his weak foot developed. I thought Pec was fine once they changed wings, and I think it's probably the way to go forward. Something needs to change for the Galaxy. Something needs to shake. Something needs to mix up, and I think this is it. That being said, another piece of breaking news. We got 2 pieces of breaking news for you. Can you believe it, Sean? 2 pieces of breaking news is the fact that Gabriel Pec, our other designated player, we got good injury news for everything considered. Gabriel Pec is still dealing with some pain. He's getting treatment right now for his injury, but he's questionable. He's questionable for the Red Bulls game. It's not a long-term injury. It's not going to look like it's a long-term injury. Gabriel Pec will be able to be back on the field, hopefully for the El Trafico. He believes that he will be back on the field for El Trafico. So we're not going to be missing him for an extended period of time. And all things considered, this is the best injury news you could have received. These 2 pieces are the best injury news you could have received. Both of you designated players, will they play against the Red Bulls? I'm not sure. I wouldn't expect it. Maybe one of them will, whoever's feeling more up to it. But I think all things considered, the fact that Gabriel Pec is not going to be out for a long period of time when it very could have easily been a long-term injury is such a huge stress reliever. But thoughts on this?
Yeah, as you mentioned, it's never great to hear players injured, but it is significantly better to hear that they're just questionable for the weekend compared to they're going to be out for a large chunk of time. From what I saw during the game against Kansas City, Peck was in tremendous pain, and he tried jogging off the field a couple times and then stopped those jogs instantly because he couldn't, and he walked off. I don't think we see Peck make the trip to New York. I think we only see Paintsil do. I do believe Peck will make the trip down to Philadelphia and maybe get about 30 minutes in off the bench. And then I do think we will see him start against LAFC at El Trafico. Yeah, great to hear that it's nothing serious or nothing major and that he's only questionable, because we would be in, even though he's not producing much, we would be in huge trouble if Peck was injured for, let's say, a month or 2.
Yeah, and you look like, you think about when the Galaxy are going to start winning games. I'll tell you when they're not going to win games is when you have 0 designated players available. So being able to have 2, which is what we're going to have for the whole season, that's the max until Ricky Puig comes back, is the fact that you're going to have 2 designated players. You need those 2 to be very consistently available to pick up the slack for the fact that one of your key designated players is going to be missing. You need the other 2 to be there. And the fact that they went down was very worrying to me, because I was like, wow, this is not going to be good. But I think the Peck injury was very precautionary. He tried to play on it. I think if it was a crucial match, maybe a Western Conference final, I think he would have played on it. Same goes with Joseph Paintsil, but I think those players just felt that, hey, I want to make sure that I'm ready to go for our home stretch. We got 3 rivalry games in the span of 10 days. Huge games upcoming for the LA Galaxy after this road trip. You got to be there. They got to be there. These players have to be available for those matches. And I think, like you said, they're going to posture to make sure that they're able to go 90 for an El Trafico, right? I mean, you don't see it any other way. So, yeah, all things considered, this is good news, right, Sean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, Who do we want starting in their places? I think, I know you weren't too keen on that, but I think Diego Fagundes ends up slotting over to the wing. I don't think we have any other wingers. Maybe, just maybe, if you want to keep Fagundes and Royce in the midfield, you have Cuevas at the wing. I know you're huge on that, Sean, so I'll let you talk about that.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing Cuevas on the wing. The only issue with that would be he's more of a right winger type of player, so that would be pushing Paintsil to the left. Another option that I would not mind seeing whatsoever is Awude at left wing. I think there's a chance that that could pay off.
Yeah, I think both of those are very much good options for the LA Galaxy to consider in a match where you got to be able to, start picking up points. You got to be able to provide something going forward. So I think one of our fullbacks, and you've seen that. We talked about the role of the fullbacks in the last game. Miki Amane was so far forward. You might see Miki Amane and Harbor Miller both starting if Greg Vanny really wants to get fun with it. Because you saw Miki Amane play forward. You saw him play a lot of almost like right wing or like in the midfield. He was able to go forward and do a lot of things for the LA Galaxy there. So I think the role of fullbacks is going to be very important going forward. What they're able to do going up and down the line and getting involved in the attack is going to be huge for the LA Galaxy. But that's the breaking news we got for the night. Everyone who tuned in for the breaking news, you guys can now tune out. No, I'm just kidding. We got a match preview. But before we do that, the LA Galaxy, get this. The LA Galaxy will be playing the New York Red Bulls, and it will be streamed on EAFC Mobile. This news was via Galaxy Runs LA. And by the way, shout out everyone for the graphics, including yourself, Sean. You, Galaxy Runs LA. JP, always very clutch with the graphics. But this is weird. This is a weird one, no? Like it's weird to see a LA Galaxy game on EAFC Mobile. I don't know how that works, but what do you think?
I could probably have like a whole 5-hour podcast about how much EA is just a horrible company, and these guys just do anything but try to fix their servers and not try to make you spend money. But this is cool if you don't have Apple TV. It's a great way for any Galaxy or even just MLS fan or people who are trying to get into MLS to watch the sport, because EAFC Mobile is free. So again, it's a great way for new people to tune in. Hopefully, we do get more fans out of this. It's a great opportunity.
Yeah, I know your complaints with the AFC definitely tell me you played a lot of Ultimate Team in a weekend league in your time there. I remember I've properly retired from Ultimate Team because that made me so mad when I used to play Ultimate Team. You'd grind out foot champs for a whole weekend. I remember back when they had the 30 game system, I got like a ridiculous amount of wins for me. I mean, I wasn't the best player, but like I got like 24 wins one weekend. Like I was absolutely crushing it. And the rewards I got were terrible. I was fuming. Awful company. But I'm excited to see how this one works. Maybe by the way, we will have a live watch along for this match. Yeah. That is Peyton gets the call up for the match against the Red Bulls. Very possible. But I'm more of a center back / goalkeeper type. But let's go into our match preview here, Sean. The LA Galaxy will travel to New Jersey to play the New York Red Bulls at Sports Illustrated Stadium at Saturday. This Saturday game. We finally got Saturday games back. Thank the Lord. This match will be played at 4:30 p.m. Pacific time. Kickoff will be 4:39 p.m. What are you expecting out of this match without going into score predictions?
Again, shout out to Galactic Zone for this beautiful graphic here. I'm expecting Red Bulls to just go all out and absolutely whoop us to get revenge from the MLS Cup.
Yeah, a very motivated New York team. Obviously, we're the reason why they don't have their first MLS Cup. they saw their rivals New York City FC lift an MLS Cup before they did, which has to be absolutely heartbreaking for their fans. They patiently waited for their time to win MLS Cup. They've been an original in the league since 1996. It's been 30 years. It's this is MLS's 30-year anniversary. They're very excited to win MLS Cup, and we just robbed them. We robbed it straight. We just took it straight from them. No MLS Cup for you, New York Red Bulls. We are sorry. I'm not sorry. They're gonna get revenge. I agree with you, Sean. They're absolutely gonna get their revenge. Can you go over time periods of Pec and Paintsil? We already went over it for like about 10 minutes ago. If you look back on podcast, they moved Ventura County's game to Carson. Then why name them Ventura County? I'm not sure. Do you know more about that, Sean?
From my knowledge, at least it was with the case with the Open Cup games. They play in Carson whenever the stadium they play at gets used by the college. But again, it's also possible they would Dignity Health or Track and Field Stadium would get absolutely packed when it was the mini El Traficos. So it also could be a possibility of that. And with free admission, it's a great way to get people to go. You might even see me there. You might see me there.
He said graduation is happening at that time. That's the reason, which makes a lot of sense to me. You gonna be taking anyone to the game, Sean?
I mean, it depends if I go. I would love to go meet up with some of my friends there. I mean, maybe Ventura County might even see me on the pitch. Maybe I make my debut.
Yeah, you and Tabbers in the midfield is going to be different gravy. You, Tabbers, and Elijah Winder. But
90 goals right there minimum.
Exactly, 100%. Yeah, Ventura County is going to end up going to play in Carson, I guess. But yeah, you got this, Sean. Well, I'm excited to see you make your debut. Yeah, just quickly, if you missed it, we went over about 10 minutes ago the time periods for Pec and Paintsil. Gabriel Pec is questionable for the upcoming match. Wouldn't expect to see him play, but it doesn't look like it's going to end up being a long-term injury. And Joseph Paintsil probably is more likely to be available for this match, and it's a minor knock for both of them. Honestly, is the best news we could have possibly received. We'll receive official word from Greg Vanny and the LA Galaxy tomorrow on that, but that's what we have right now. Peyton and goal, yeah, I got you guys. I'll suit up in net. But the starting lineup for the Galaxy I'd expect for this match: John McCarthy in net. John Nelson seems to be the pen-in starter at left back for some reason. Amiro Gar, not that he's a bad player, but I think Julian Ade definitely should be taking that spot by now. Amiro Garces and Maya Yoshida at center back. Miki Amane at right back. Edwin Cerrillo, Lucas Sanabria, and Marco Royce in the midfield. Wait, no, hold on. Something I'm kind of conflicted on the lineup here. I feel like you might see a midfield of Edwin Cerrillo, Isaiah Parente, Marco Royce, and then you know what? No, I'm gonna say they're gonna stick with it. They're gonna go Edwin Cerrillo, Marco Royce, Diego Fagundes, and then at the wings they're gonna go. I think Joseph Paintsil is gonna start this match. I think Joseph Paintsil, Christian Ramirez, and Julian Ade on the wing. Maybe Cuevas, but I think they want Joseph Paintsil in his right wing spot for the time being. So, what do you think? Do you disagree? What does the Sean starting lineup look like? Well, that's not what I would do, by the way. But what do you think it's going to end up looking like?
Well, my starting 11 would be a lot of delusion if it was what I wanted. But what the club should do, in my opinion, is I think we will see rotation in this game. Even though this is more winnable than the game against Philadelphia, absolutely. I think we will see Cerrillo, Lepley, and Royce in the midfield. An attacking three of, I think we're going to see Nascimento out on the wing, which Not Nascimento, correction.
Okay,
I think we'll see Nascimento up front. I think
bro.
we're gonna. I know I should probably just let it go, but again, we need to get
Sean,
rotation
okay,
here.
you gotta
But
let
I
it
think
go,
we'll
man.
see. I think it'll be Fagundes, Nascimento,
Okay,
and I don't even know who at right wing. We're in trouble. That's just all I know.
you could have Cuevas. You could have Cuevas.
Cuevas, there we go.
I know you're huge on Cuevas at right wing. Sean Nascimento, you gotta give it up, buddy. The Galaxy don't need to rotate for this match. Our next match against the Philadelphia Union, is that unless that's a midweek game. Unless that's a midweek
It's a
game.
midweek game.
It's a midweek game. By the way, the Red Bulls are playing right now. The Red Bulls, well, they just won 4-1 over the Colorado Switchbacks in the U.S. Open Cup. I know everyone misses that competition. So they're going to be a little fatigued. But I don't know. I don't see Nascimento starting. I think they're gonna ride with Christian Ramirez, and then maybe the Philadelphia game you'll get your wish. Honestly, I think Miguel Berry has a better chance of starting. I think Miguel Berry has a better chance of starting ahead of Nascimento. But I think it's fair to say at this point of the LA Galaxy season, and I talked to Griffin about this earlier, is the fact that might as well just start trying U22 players and see who sticks, right? I mean, to your Nascimento point, I would pick 2 other U22s before I pick Nascimento to start. But I think it's the truth. I think the LA Galaxy need to start experimenting. I don't think there's any incentive not to. Your team has 0 wins right now. Start shaking things up and see what works. Julian Ade, I've been advocating for the longest time to start. That's something I properly just let go because I don't think Greg Vanney wants to. And whatever, I'm not in training every day to see which player's doing better. But from what I could see on the field, I've liked what Julian Ade can provide, although John Nelson was fine last game. And I don't think he's been particularly bad. I just think we need a bit more of an attacking presence. Do you agree with Vanney out comments? We got a question from Adam in the chat.
Right. Currently, no. I can say at the end of the season, I will be. I don't think we should fire him in the middle of the year, especially he did win us the cup last year. I know you, me, and all of the other accounts have had long conversations about this. I'm gonna be real. I am not a big fan of Greg Vanney. You're gonna have 2 of the 4 worst years in Galaxy history under him. With last season, we did not win MLS Cup because of our defense. We haven't had a good defense under what is considered a defense-minded coach, which is a bit worrying. Yeah, I'll just leave it at that and leave it more of a future conversation.
Yeah. Who would we replace Greg Vanney with is a very interesting question. I think Jim Curtin's out there. I don't know if Jim Curtin fits a Galaxy mold. He's used to working with very young youth academy players. We have a good academy, but I don't think that's the direction the Galaxy might end up heading in, even though that would have been my hire, because what he did with Philadelphia Union, the resources they had was absolutely ridiculous. That being said, even Philadelphia is doing fine with Bradley Carnell. Robbie Keane's a really good shout by Prod in the chat. I could very much see Robbie Keane, but to me, if Robbie Keane is the alternative to Greg Vanney, a 3-time MLS Cup and treble winning coach, I'm good. I love Robbie Keane, but I'm good. I'd rather see Greg Vanney at the helm. Jim Curtin's an interesting one, but I think he is absolutely on the hot seat because, Sean, I think you're right in some regard. I think you're right in the regard where if the Galaxy don't win this Red Bulls match, which we're not going to be favored to, and we don't win against the Union, which is also very possible, and you don't win in El Trafico at home, I don't think they would fire him right after an El Trafico. That gives way too much leverage to LAFC fans to, throw it in your face. But if you lose the San Diego game and then the San Jose game and you're not getting results, this might be Greg Vanney's last month in charge. That being said, I wouldn't do it. I stood on this before the start of the season, so I'll stand on it again. I think let's see. I think Greg Vanney is a very good head coach in Major League Soccer. He has a proven pedigree, and he'll end up being just fine. But let's see here. I'm just checking some things. We got the season so far. We have a graphic coming up for this, but Sean, give me your prediction for this match. Give me your prediction right now.
Like I said, I think we get blown out 4-1. Red Bulls are gonna want this so much more. They're gonna want to beat the team that took away what would have been their first ever MLS Cup. It's unfortunate to say. I don't like saying the Galaxy are gonna get blown out, but just sometimes you just need to also accept it as well. If Pec and Paintsil aren't playing, if you're gonna have to be playing Fagundes out wide when we just saw that he worked in the midfield with we saw Fagundes work in the midfield with Royce. You're really just dismantling that already, and I think it could just be a huge drop off and just be a significant opportunity for the Red Bulls to get their revenge.
Yeah, and you look at the season so far for both of these clubs. The LA Galaxy with 3 draws through 11 matches. Obviously the 8 losses is not looking very good there. The New York Red Bulls are just coming off of a 4-1 loss to Inter Miami, so they're not looking too good. They beat Montreal 1-0, lost to DC United. They're not in the greatest of form here, Sean. The teams they beat aren't too impressive to me. They're going to have a lot of motivation to win this match. They won 4-1 tonight. That is very true, but that was against a USL side. So I'm not all too impressed with the New York Red Bulls. I'm not too impressed with the New York Red Bulls. They're gonna have a lot of reason to go out and whoop the Galaxy. We don't have a win on the season. To me, nothing would suggest that we do win this match. They did rotate an Open Cup to make sure that they would be able to, have guys ready to go for this. The Galaxy have a full week. That being said, who's your goal scorer?
My goal scorer will be let's give it to Royce.
Okay. I think the Galaxy lose 1-0. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I do think it will be a loss. I think it's going to be a consecutive 1-0 loss. And by the way, look at this. We've been shut out 5 times this season. You know how many times take a guess how many times we were shut out last year?
Has to have been I think it was only 2 or 3 times.
It's 4. It was 4.
Oh.
And we've been shut out 5. So we've already been shut out more times this season than we were last season. And that's also including 0-0 draws last year. Not good at all for the LA Galaxy here. That being said, I'm not too impressed with the Red Bulls as a team to say that they're going to blow us out. In all these matches, they haven't won by an impressive margin. I think it's going to be a scrappy match. And yeah, I feel like this is going to. I've had this odd feeling that the Union match is a bit more winnable, which is weird. Look at these teams in the standings. The Red Bulls are 10th, Union are 2nd. But I don't know. I just have this feeling that we might be able to get at least a draw on the road at Philadelphia. But on paper, this would be the more winnable of the 2 matches. So yeah. I think I don't know. I don't think we're going to score. I don't think we're going to score in this one. I think it's going to be the 6th match where we're kept off of the score sheet. And a lot of questions are going to be raised. And we have that Greg Vanney discussion. I think the seat's getting a bit hotter. And I think the main thing to look at there, Sean, is the fact that they're way far apart on contract extension terms. They're not close. If Greg Vanney is not in your plans for next year, if he's not in your plans in the long run, then you dispose of him. Then he's the disposable guy. That being said, the reason why I wouldn't sack Greg Vanney is the fact that this team's not making the playoffs. This team's not making the playoffs with or without Greg Vanney. So I would give him one more year. 2026. He's going to have all the tools. You're going to have so much roster flexibility. The Galaxy are looking amazing salary cap wise next year. You're going to have Ricky Puig back. I don't think Pec's getting sold. Paintsil is a long-term player for the LA Galaxy. You're going to have everything set for you. If he struggles in 2026, yes, you can sack him. It's okay to sack him if he struggles again in 2026. That being said, I wouldn't do it because this team's a lost cause anyway, in my opinion. I think we're too far down. We've dug ourselves too deep of a hole. We would need to be absolutely brilliant for the rest of the year. And I don't see it happening. I don't see it happening whatsoever. That being said, this is the month to turn it around. If you could start turning things around, you could be looking at potentially playing game, but I don't know. By the way, as we talked about on the live podcast, this is the worst Western Conference in MLS history, I believe. The only good Western Conference team is the Vancouver Whitecaps. Every other team is not good whatsoever. Nobody else besides the Whitecaps are good. It's the worst Western Conference I've ever seen in my life. I think the MLS Cup winner is absolutely coming from the East, but chances we slide into the playoffs, Sean.
I think they're pretty much impossible. My opinions have changed over the past month. I do think so. We will see good things. We will obviously get a few wins this year, but the point gap is just too big. I think we're on like 13 points or something crazy like that to even between us and the last playoff spot, which would be a play-in round. So it's not even like we're in the playoffs.
Yeah.
But to go back on your Vanny discussion, I don't want to talk about this too much. But if the Galaxy know that Greg Vanny will not be returning next year, personally, I wouldn't mind if you did get rid of him in the summer and bring in a guy who would now have this team and try to experiment and see who he wants to keep. Because as well, you don't want a guy to come in and have to figure out who he wants to keep without actually experimenting with them and then who he wants to get rid of. That's just how I see it.
We've gotten to the point of the season where these players are playing for their jobs now. This isn't about anything that's going on this year. This is about your career. If you're an LA Galaxy player right now, I think there are very, very few players on the team who are guaranteed to be back next year. I would look at Gabriel Pec, Joseph Paintsil, obviously Ricky Puig, and Garces Yamane as being the only players I would pen in as being back next year. Maybe Cerrillo, because they're very high on Cerrillo. I like Edwin Cerrillo. But that's not a lot. That's not a lot for a whole roster. So you are right. And a guy like Jim Curtin is there, and he's not going to be there for very long. Kansas City want a head coach. He could end up there. Teams are going to start sacking head coaches. Montreal need a head coach. He could end up there. Are we keeping John McCarthy? I don't think so. I think McCarthy and Novak are out. I know you had an interesting take on Novak Mitrovic. So you want to spill? Want to spill that?
Sure. I believe that we should be giving Mitrovic minutes again because I strongly believe that we won't be seeing McCarthy stay for the rest of the year, which I think he goes in the summer, which might be a bit of a delusional take, but you don't know who's going to be your starting goalkeeper next year. So might as well see if if McCarthy, oh my goodness, if Mitrovic is going to be that guy. And if he's not that guy, then okay, you know he's not, and you can get rid of him. But clearly the Galaxy aren't going to improve drastically and make the playoffs, or like drastically and go to the top of the West. So might as well just continue to take risks. It wouldn't hurt.
I don't entirely disagree with that, but I also think that the Galaxy have decided that Novak Mitrovic and John McCarthy are not going to be the future of the Galaxy next year. I don't think he goes in the summer. Maybe if you're looking at places and ways the Galaxy could get some salary cap relief. It could be, but I don't think John McCarthy's taking up enough of a salary hit to really justify that. And I don't know what his market's looking at. He could retire. He could retire after the end of this year. I think we're just going to ride out the contract. I think we're going to ride out the contract and let John McCarthy walk in free agency. Unless he wants to take a cheap backup deal, which I wouldn't mind. John McCarthy as a backup next year would not be an issue for me. But I don't disagree with the fact that Novak Mitrovic, like, what do you have to lose? This team has 0 wins. You're not gonna get much worse. But I don't think Novak Mitrovic is that guy, and I've supported Novak Mitrovic, but and maybe he'll end up having a successful career elsewhere. Maybe he needs a loan. I don't see him ever becoming the Galaxy starting goalkeeper. I just can't envision it in my head. I think his time here is very numbered. He's lost the fan support. He's lost the coach's support. And I don't think there's much going for John McCarthy for me to assume that he's going to end up having a John McCarthy or Novak Mitrovic to suggest that they're going to be the future next year for the LA Galaxy. But for this match, I think John McCarthy gets the nod. I think it would take another significant McCarthy mistake for that to change. But we'll take last questions from the chat here. If you want to direct them at Sean or myself. By the way, if you're here, make sure to like and subscribe to the stream. If you have any questions about the match against the Red Bulls, the Galaxy being winless in 11 games, going on with a chance to betting on the Galaxy to win MLS Cup this year, just donate it to charity at this point. That's the last thing anyone should be doing with their money right now. Make sure to like and subscribe. Appreciate you, Prod, leaving a like. Turn on bell notifications if you haven't, so you don't miss when we go live. It's always on our Instagram stories. And we appreciate you guys very much for the support. But yeah, questions about injuries. Mark Delgado or Diego Fagundes over Mark Delgado. Sean's cat. Mittens, anything you have a question about. Do we have Mittens? Is Mittens
No,
in the room?
actually, I keep all of my cats outside my room when the door's closed.
Okay. Will there ever be a stream with all the creators? I don't think so.
Maybe
Sean?
if there's a huge watch along. But for a regular Tuesday podcast, I don't think we'll ever see more than 4 people, just because we don't want it to be too overwhelming.
Yeah. And people's schedules conflict. Like Galaxy Runs LA for the foreseeable future will not be able to make these Tuesday ones. Just watch alongs. He'll be able to make some of them. Who do you think will score next for the LA Galaxy? Joseph Paintsil. What do you think, Sean?
I still think Royce is scoring this weekend.
Okay. Yeah. How's Ricky's injury recovery looking? I have no update on Ricky Puig. It's gonna be a while before we get anything on Ricky. It's an ACL tear. He always posts on his Instagram. If you guys follow him, he always posts about his injury. Him recovering. I saw him today doing very dynamic workouts. I don't know if you saw that Instagram story of Ricky Puig, but he was working hard. As you'd probably expect by the amount of months that it's been. That being said, there's a huge difference between working out and carrying a ball on the field. So it's going to be a very long time. Use your sources. It could be July as far as we know. It's not going to be July. I could tell you that much. I don't need sources to tell you it's not going to be July. Who scores first, Barry or Nascimento? That's a fun one. Miguel Barry, in my opinion. But Sean?
Do I have to pick?
You have to.
I have to. Yeah, realistically, it's going to be Barry. Nascimento's never going to see the pitch again.
Yeah, no. Nascimento high. But you picked up the score last game, man. I don't see Nascimento ever working out for the LA Galaxy. Miguel Barry is going to be the next goal scorer before. Sean, Arsenal tomorrow. We got any predictions here?
My manager said he wanted us to have the boots on last week. The boots were on. Unfortunately, the club didn't tune up for it. But I'll be supporting my boys tomorrow, no matter what. I always love them. That's all I'm gonna say.
No
I'm
prediction.
nervous, really
You,
nervous,
you're gonna
especially
be
after
wearing
that game today.
you're gonna be wearing a full kit. Are you gonna be wearing a
Yeah,
full kit during the match? Oh, you're
the
disgusting.
shin pads will be
You're
on.
disgusting. Um, who's winning UCL? Not Barca. I can tell you that much. Tabbers in the chat. It will not be FC Barcelona. So, any Rafinha, Lewandowski, or Lamine Yamal Ballon d'Or discussions need to end now. Give Mo Salah's Ballon d'Or. I'm gonna propagate it here. So
I can confirm Liverpool are not in the gonna win the UCL either this season.
okay, all right, nice one, Sean.
Sad to say,
I
man.
can confirm that Arsenal will not be winning. Geez, I wish we had a podcast tomorrow night. After PSG hand them it, it's gonna be PSG. I can tell you that much. Are the Galaxy playing any Premier League or big team exhibitions this year? Nah,
I don't think
nah.
we have in years actually.
It's been a while. I'd like to see that though. You got
It was United.
Really? What year? It wasn't when I was a fan.
I think we did in like 2017.
Yeah, that sounds about right. They should have done one with Zlatan. That would have been the perfect opportunity to market a game. And not that he'd play any minutes in the match, but you know how they do it. They had Zlatan on Leagues Cup ads back when they had the original Leagues Cup in 2019. And he never played. He was never going to play. Pop-up podcast tomorrow. I don't think Sean's going to be up for it tomorrow after what's going to happen.
I mean, would you be available?
Shoot. I'm always available.
Man, making this difficult for me, man.
We'll see if we'll have a pop-up podcast then, but we'll have to see how you're feeling after tomorrow, Sean. By the way, going from watching that Champions League game yesterday to Arteta ball tomorrow is the worst thing. But it is what it is. But yeah, I'll be asleep. Yeah, probably. That's a good shout too. I got an 11 a.m. tomorrow though. Gotta rise and grind. But that's all I got. Is that all you got, Sean?
Yeah, we went over the main topics today.
Yeah, we went over everything. Thank you guys for tuning in. Sean, where can they find you?
You can find me at Galaxy News 101 over on Instagram and on Twitter, as well as Arsenal FC News 101 over on Instagram as well.
As for myself, I'm LA Galaxy Buzz, LA Galaxy Central, and John Pork LA Galaxy. John Pork LA Galaxy on TikTok. Thank you all for tuning in. Like and subscribe if you have not. Turn on bell notifications so you don't miss a single live. Thank you all for tuning in. Good night, everyone. Take care and be safe. Yeah, as Prod says. See you guys, and